Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Impeachment proceedings for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas continue today. We'll tune in to the second hearing and the GOP's effort to hold him accountable for the ongoing border crisis.
A battle over access at the Texas border with Mexico. The DHS deadline passes, and Texas AG Ken Paxton says Texas will not surrender.
We unpack Biden's new terrorist designation of the Houthis, the Iran-backed group targeting ships in the Red Sea. What does it mean for U.S. national security?
Potentially billions of dollars saved for consumers a year if a new government rule is implemented. What is it? We have the host of NTD Business.
Think twice before taking photos on Las Vegas Strip pedestrian bridges. A new fine has just taken effect.
An amusing highway chase caught on camera. A horse running loose on a Tennessee highway finds its way home thanks to the help of a deputy sheriff.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Denouncing President Biden's so-called open border policies, the House of Representatives passed a resolution yesterday criticizing the administration's handling of the immigration crisis.
Over a dozen Democrats joined Republicans in voting for it.
The legislation describes the current situation as the worst border security crisis in the nation's history.
One key concern is the number of encounters at the southern border. The resolution states that Border Patrol encountered over 100,000 illegal immigrants during every month of the Biden administration.
The legislation also says there has been a steep increase in people on the terrorist watch list trying to enter the country. That number rose by 2,700%.
In total, 14 Democrats voted yes on the resolution, alongside all Republicans. Some of those Democrats come from districts close to the border, such as Henry Cuellar, who's been openly talking about the immigration crisis for months now.
Of the 14 Democrats voting yes, 10 don't actually represent districts in border states. We're waiting to see what happens today in the Texas border contest with the Biden administration. The DHS gave Texas a deadline of midnight last night to provide Border Patrol full access to a public park in Eagle Pass and 2.5 miles of the Rio Grande. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton doubled down on blocking Border Patrol yesterday. The AG's office stated Texas will not surrender, as you heard earlier. Paxton says Texas has constitutional authority to defend its territory.
Texas authorities started arresting adult illegal immigrants at the public park in Eagle Pass late last night. A Texas official said these are the first arrests at the park since the state took control of the area a week ago. The illegal immigrants are being charged with criminal trespassing.
And Chinese scientists are testing a new coronavirus strain related to the one that causes COVID-19. How deadly is it?
So far, all the mice that have been infected died in just 8 days, though it remains unclear how this experimental strain would affect humans.
The virus attacked their brains, which were engineered to mimic human genetic makeup. The strain GXP2V infected the lungs, bones, eyes, tracheas, and brains of the mice. They quickly lost weight and were eventually killed by the brain infection. Their eyes turned completely white before they died. Authors of the study work for a university in Beijing. They underscored the risk researching this virus poses toward infecting humans. Researchers say GXP2V virus similar to a strain of virus that causes COVID-19. A former professor of medicine at Stanford posted the research on X, writing, "This madness must be stopped before it's too late." The CCP virus, which causes COVID-19, hit China in 2020. It later spread around the world, taking over 1 million lives on U.S. soil. Now, the world is still in the dark about where the virus came from. Debates remain over whether it came from an animal or a lab leak.
New information is out on Beijing's pandemic cover-up. When Chinese officials said the virus outbreak in Wuhan was an unknown pneumonia, information about the virus was already available in China. This is according to a report from the Wall Street Journal.
A Chinese researcher uploaded an almost complete sequence of the virus's structure to a US-run database in December 2019. Virus sequencing is key to deciphering a strain. Beijing only shared that information with the World Health Organization 2 weeks later. This 2-week window could have helped the world better respond to the pandemic. The CDC knew more about the risk from COVID vaccines than it let on. Doctors who've been critical of the pandemic are on X, saying the FDA failed to protect citizens. They're commenting on an email from 2021, now exclusively obtained by the Epoch Times. It shows the CDC drafted an alert on COVID-19 vaccines and myocarditis, but never sent it. Now to discuss, we're joined by Jeffrey Tucker, the author of Liberty or Lockdown and the president of the Brownstone Institute. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us. What does the fact that the CDC drafted this alert but never sent it say about the agency's operations and transparency during the pandemic?
Everything about the pandemic response was directed towards ruling out the vaccine. That's very clear. We know this now. From March 13th onwards, that's all they really cared about, was getting the vaccine out. So once the vaccine came out, they wanted it to inoculate the whole of the global population, selling, whatever, 16 billion, doses, and they weren't going to let anything stop them. All the safety signals just wasn't going to stand in the way, because they had risked everything to make sure this vaccine worked. And when it turned out that it was actually possibly very damaging, they just ignored all the safety signals. It's really criminal.
Now, Jeffrey, Dr. Robert Malone on X said this email is more evidence of the FDA failing to protect and inform the citizens of the country. Do you think that's a fair comment?
I think it's extremely fair. We depend on the FDA to give us drugs that are safe and effective. This one, there is no way they could say it was safe. You cannot say that a vaccine that's been untested and has no long-term effects, we've had no data at all, is safe. That's already obviously a lie. You can't say it's safe, 2 weeks after having given it. It's ridiculous. Effective? I mean, it wasn't effective. It didn't provide any protection against infection or transmission after just a few weeks under ideal conditions. Even then, it fell apart. But what's even more horrifying about this whole thing is the more fundamental point is, was this ever necessary? And they knew for sure that it was not necessary for children, for working age adults, for most everybody who was going to easily survive this coronavirus. They knew this very, very early on in February, but they went ahead anyway.
All right, and what impact do you think failing to send this alert had on health policy in both the public and private sectors? Would vaccine mandates still have been implemented so widely?
Those are two interesting questions. The one thing is that all the propaganda from January, February 2020, all the way through the vaccine rollout was trying to get the population warmed up to the idea that the great cure was on the way. So just stay locked down, stay masked up, stay alarmed, stay freaked out, and keep your businesses closed and keep your community ruined while you wait for the vaccine. So that was the propaganda all along. By the time the vaccine rollout came, many people took it, but when they saw that it wasn't working, they kept upping the threshold of what they called herd immunity through the vaccination. And it was 70%, then 80%, then 90%. Then they aspired to get the whole population vaccinated. And when that became not possible, then they started leaning in towards these mandates to get everybody else involved. That actually backfired, because people just naturally assume, look, if you have to mandate something, are we sure that it's the thing to do? So it actually had the reverse effect, and people became ever more resistant. And as we know, I don't know what booster we're on now, number 7 or whatever, but the uptake is very low, and rightly so.
What do you think needs to be done to find out why this alert was never sent and ensure accountability here?
We need full documentation of everything. That's the number one thing. They're still hiding vast troves of documents, among which are classified documents that we can't get to because they were protected under national security. The things that we do know, we got only because of leaks and FOIA requests, repeated FOIA requests, or discovery in court trials. the government in general, the CDC and the FDA and the National Security Council, FEMA and HHS have all just been hiding so much stuff now for 4 years. It's really appalling. You would think we don't even live in a democratic system, the way they've been hiding all this stuff. So there needs to be some really strong concerted efforts to get every scrap of information out there, every bit of it, and then have all the main players testifying under oath about exactly what they knew, when they knew it, and what they decided to do anyway. It seems to me that if the American people and the global community in general knew the fullness of what's transpired over the last four years, there would be mass public outrage, and there should be.
All right, Jeffrey Tucker, good to see you as always, author of Liberty or Lockdown, as well as the founder and president of the Brownstone Institute.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and it was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
I'm Don Ma in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome back. Now we begin our coverage of the second impeachment hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
The Homeland Security hearing is titled Voices for the Victims, the Heartbreaking Reality of the Mayorkas Border Crisis.
Polls say the majority of Americans feel the situation at the southern border is a major problem or worse.
Let's dive in.
The Committee on Homeland Security will come to order. Without objection, the chair may declare the committee in recess at any point. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony on President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas' open border policies and how these failed policies have had a profound and devastating impact throughout our country. This is the second hearing in this committee's impeachment proceedings regarding Secretary Mayorkas. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Last week, this committee opened impeachment proceedings against Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. This is not a policy difference. The truth is, Secretary Mayorkas has disregarded court orders, laws passed by the United States Congress, and has lied to the American people. Who wants a secretary that can just disregard the fundamental pillars of the Constitution? We can't tolerate that, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. That's what we got out of our hearing last week. Today, we're here to examine the impact of those actions on the American people and launch into the substance and human cost of Secretary Mayorkas' open border policies. As a result of the reckless actions by Secretary Mayorkas, no American is safe. There is a fentanyl epidemic sweeping this nation. Roughly 150,000 Americans died from fentanyl poisoning in 21 and 22. That's more than the number of U.S. combat deaths in World War I and the Vietnam War combined. Fentanyl is ripping apart our families and destroying our communities. Over 50% of this poison is being smuggled from Mexico into Arizona before it's dispersed throughout the United States. The Grand Canyon State is on the front lines of this crisis, which is why we have had testimony by people who have related the impacts on that state. Now, you'll hear many of my colleagues on the left claim that fentanyl is a ports of entry problem. But in reality, just last year, the Border Patrol intercepted enough fentanyl between the ports of entry to kill every single American. And that's just what we've caught. We have no idea how much more fentanyl was brought in by the nearly 1.8 million known gotaways, not to mention the unknown gotaways. Border officials have told this committee in testimony that only 5 to 10% of the fentanyl coming across the border is actually seized. By redirecting so many Border Patrol agents from patrolling the border to assist with the processing and release of illegal aliens, Secretary Mayorkas has made it far easier to smuggle fentanyl across the southwest border. Because of Secretary Mayorkas' border crisis, American cities and neighborhoods are less safe. Secretary Mayorkas' refusal to enforce the law, which requires him to detain and remove illegal aliens, has tragically increased crime and endangered public safety across the country. Since fiscal year 2021, the Border Patrol arrested more than 41,000 aliens with criminal convictions, including more than 15,000 in fiscal year 23. That's up from just a little over 4,200 in FY 2019. Total convictions for assault, battery, and domestic violence among illegal aliens apprehended in FY 23 exceeded 1,200, compared to 299 in FY 19. These statistics do not reflect the illegal aliens with criminal records who have slipped through the system because agents just don't have enough time or information to vet them. Additionally, DHS has no way to determine if an alien has a criminal history in his home country unless that country reports the information to the United States government or the alien self-reports. Therefore, DHS is mainly only screening aliens at the border to determine if they have previously committed a crime in the United States. And because many of these aliens are coming to the United States for the first time, DHS has no idea whether they have a criminal history or not. Lastly, I'd like to point out that I have invited Secretary Mayorkas on multiple occasions to testify on the border crisis, including this hearing today. I'm disappointed that he has chosen not to testify. Instead, he plays games and cat and mouse, telling the media he wants to cooperate with the committee on finding a time to testify, but then refuses to work with the committee staff or offer any dates or times to which he can testify. Despite this behavior, and in lieu of his in-person testimony, I have invited him to submit testimony for the record, and I sincerely hope that he takes advantage of that offer. I'd like to ask unanimous consent for my letters inviting Secretary Mayorkas for testimony dated August 16, September 14, January 5, and January 7th to be entered into the record. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Thompson, for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Before we begin today's hearing, I want to address misinformation my Republican colleagues are spreading, falsely alleging that Secretary Mayorkas is refusing to testify before this committee. Let me set the record straight. Secretary Mayorkas has testified before Congress more than any other cabinet secretary. He's appeared before this committee twice in the last year, including just 2 months ago when he testified for several hours about border security. His willingness to work with the committee has been a welcome change from the Trump administration, whose officials consistently refused to comply with congressional oversight. They ignored virtually every oversight letter and even defied a subpoena for their so-called acting secretary to appear before the committee. Secretary Mayorkas, however, has been forthright in dealing with Congress. In response to the chairman's request to testify at today's hearing on January 11th, 2024, the secretary sent a letter agreeing to make himself available to testify at a future mutually agreed upon date. However, the chairman has refused to accept. Instead, Republicans sent angry letters and tweets accusing the secretary of refusing to testify, knowing full well he said he would appear. Republicans are acting in bad faith. Unfortunately, that's nothing new. Months ago, Chairman Green promised donors at a campaign event that he'd bring an impeachment case against Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. He told his contributors to, quote, get the popcorn, and promised it's going to be fun, unquote. Before the committee had even begun its inquiry, Republicans had predetermined the outcome. But why did Republicans invite the secretary to testify only to refuse his offer to appear? The answer to that question appeared in the Hill newspaper last night. Mr. Chair, I ask unanimous consent to include in the record this article from the Hill describing how Republicans had set the date for the markup of articles of impeachment before holding the first hearing on this subject.
Without objection, so ordered.
According to an internal Republican memo dated January 10, 2024, Republicans had already scheduled a committee vote to impeach the secretary prior to holding a single impeachment hearing. Just as we've said all along, the outcome of Republicans' so-called impeachment investigation has been predetermined from the start. The chairman promised to follow the facts, but Republicans never really intended to do so. They are hurrying to adhere to an artificial timeline agreed in a backroom deal between Republican leadership, who's holding on by a thread, and its most extreme mega members. This isn't a real impeachment. It's a mega spectacle paid for by American tax dollars for Republican political gain. But through it all, Secretary Mayorkas remained committed to doing his job. The Department of Homeland Security's mission and the men and women who served with him at DHS. The Secretary is also committed to work diligently on a bipartisan basis to secure necessary funding for border security and to prepare the department for a possible shutdown. I wish my Republican colleagues would engage the Secretary to provide the department the funding it needs, but they have refused. I look forward to continuing to work with Secretary Mayorkas on critical Homeland Security issues facing the country and commend him for his unwavering commitment to duty even in the face of this sham impeachment.
Coming up, Pakistan launches military strikes on targets in Iran. This followed Tehran's deadly attack on Pakistani territory earlier this week.
And the U.S. strikes more Houthi targets in Yemen as the group ignores warnings and lashes out at another U.S. ship. Now it's back on a list of terrorist groups. We'll have the details soon when we return.
I didn't ask to lose my mother or to be abused at 5 years old. I didn't ask to be kicked out of my house with nowhere to go.
I just can't. I'm so sorry.
I didn't ask for any of this. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there. Thanks to their love and support, and to generous people like you, I got what I needed to take control of my life.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. 1 in 10 young adults will experience homelessness this year. Your gift can help reach them when they need it most.
I didn't ask for my parents and my family to disown me. I didn't ask to end up in a homeless shelter. The beauty of it all is that I found Covenant House.
The need is overwhelming, but your monthly support will make sure no young person is ever turned away. Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today. If there's no Covenant House, where would I be today?
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations. Show them they're loved and not alone. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Freedom is not free, and neither is the truth. In order to bring you the facts, our reporters are out there on the front lines getting the true story. Some of them served 10 years of prison in China. We've been censored on social media. Our Hong Kong printing offices were set on fire, and we've been repeatedly attacked by the Chinese Communist Party. But no matter what, we believe that you deserve the truth, and so we'll continue to bring the truth to life. Head on over to getepic.com and try honest journalism that is based in truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I'm David Lam in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are NTD News.
Thanks for staying with us. We're watching the second impeachment hearing of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
The House Homeland Security hearing is titled Voices for the Victims, the Heartbreaking Reality of the Mayorkas Border Crisis.
Polls say the majority of Americans feel the situation at the southern border is a major problem or worse.
Let's watch.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Tammy Nobles. I am the mother of Kayla Hamilton. July 24, 2002 was one of the best days of my life. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and named her Kayla Marie. She loved to smile and laugh. She always kept her friends close and never forgot anyone. She was kind, caring, thoughtful, and funny. She loved God. She loved life and God. She showed the world that being yourself was okay and you didn't have to follow everyone else. But sadly, on July 27th, 2022, I received the worst news that a parent doesn't want to hear, that my newly 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room and left on the floor like trash. The illegal MS-13 known gang member brutally raped and murdered my daughter by strangling her with a cord and robbed her of $6. During the attack, Kayla called her boyfriend for help but went to voicemail. The voicemail of the murderer strangling Kayla was 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. DHS employees failed to visually inspect the assailant by lifting his shirt to check for gang-related tattoos. Had DHS employee employees performed a visual inspection of the assailant's body, they would have seen MS-13 gang-related tattoos on his body, disqualifying him from entering the U.S. DHS employees failed to make a simple phone call to the El Salvador government to verify if assailant was on an MS-13 gang affiliation list. Had they done so, El Salvador government officials would have confirmed that the assailant was a known MS-13 gang member with a prior criminal history. DHS supervisors have failed to train and supervise DHS employees to properly screen minors attempting to enter U.S. soil from El Salvador. The operational neglect committed by DHS carried over into DHS, whose operational neglect further sealed my daughter's fate. DHHS's operational neglect included its employees violating clearly articulated protocol requiring a minor to be placed with a verified relative before entering the U.S. DHHS employees neglected and recklessly failed to verify a legitimate family member of the assailant or sponsor before allowing him to enter U.S. soil. There were clear inconsistencies in the DHS and DHHS records regarding the identity of the relative to whom the assailant was released. Ultimately, HHS's failures, the MS-13 gang member as a minor, to rent a room in a trailer park from another individual who was also an illegal immigrant. There was also a lack of transparency by DHS and DHHS, including but not limited to DHHS's failure to provide House of Representative Chairman Jim Jordan a copy of its audit report. Let's take a moment and think about how Kayla felt that day, how scared she must have been that day knowing that she was dying. If she was going to see her mommy again, her baby sister, her brother, or her cat Oreo. Kayla fought for her life that day with all that she had. And in the end, she lost to an individual that wasn't even supposed to be allowed in the country. For me, this is not a political issue. This is a safety issue for everyone living in the United States. This could have been anyone's daughter. I don't want any other parent to live the nightmare that I am living. I am her voice now, and I'm going to fight with everything I have to get her story told and bring awareness of the issue at the border. If we had stricter border policies, my daughter would still be alive today. Nothing will bring my daughter back, nor fix the pain of not having her here. But I want to prevent this from happening to someone else's child. This isn't about immigration. This is about protecting everyone in the United States.
Before I begin, I wish to thank you all for the gift of your time. I want to thank you for allowing me to share my beautiful daughter's story. As painful as it is for me to do so, I wish to spare as many parents the unfathomable pain and debilitating grief that I carry every single day. My daughter Ashley has left this earth 967 days ago. Today would have been her 29th birthday. In the next 5 minutes, you will see many beautiful photos of Ashley on the screens. Photos are all that my family and I have left of her. That's not true. I guess we do have a small amount of ashes in an urn, and we do have our memories. In that same 5 minutes that I get to share her story after I traveled all the way from Arizona for Mr. Mayorkas not to appear here today, someone else's loved one in the United States will die in this same 5 minutes that I get to speak because of fentanyl. Over the next 24 hours, 190 loved ones in this country will die from fentanyl. 50% of that fentanyl is coming through my state with an open border. The beautiful state of Arizona today will lose 5 people to fentanyl. 5. You see, Arizona recognizes that fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. While you see her beautiful smile and almond-shaped eyes scroll across those screens, more often than not, I remember her differently. Every time I close my eyes, I see all of the tubes. When it's quiet, I hear all of the machines that were keeping her alive. You see, my husband and I had to sit for 86 hours in the ICU while we were begging God, because yes, we're Christians and we're conservative, we're from Arizona. We were begging God, we were pleading God, bargaining that she would just breathe. I understand that the mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to secure our nation's air, land, and sea borders, to prevent illegal activity while facilitating lawful travel and trade. In my humble opinion, Mr. Mayorkas' border policies is partially responsible for my daughter's death. His wide-open border policy allows massive quantities of poisonous fentanyl into our country. Arizona is the fentanyl superhighway into the United States. I personally feel Mr. Mayorkas is responsible for opening that border to allow more than 10 million illegal border crossings since February of 2021, which supports most of the illegal fentanyl into this country. This weapon of mass destruction has killed over 100,000 Americans on our soil for 2 years in a row.
Pakistan says it carried out military strikes today inside Iran. It says it used targeted precision strikes against what it called guerrillas and stated a number of combatants were killed.
Pakistan stated it, quote, fully respects Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It says the sole objective of the strike was Pakistan's security and national interests. That's after Iran hit what it said were strongholds of Sunni group with missiles and drones earlier this week.
Pakistan said the strikes killed 2 children and wounded several others and warned Iran of serious consequences. And the U.S. military struck more Houthi-controlled sites in Yemen yesterday. Central Command says 14 Houthi missiles on launch rails were hit. It cited an imminent threat to merchant and U.S. Navy ships.
CENTCOM says the missiles could have been fired at any time and that U.S. forces exercised their right and obligation to defend themselves.
This is the 4th time the U.S. has directly targeted the Iran-backed group over the last week. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more.
U.S. Central Command says strikes against the Houthis are meant to degrade their capabilities to attack shipping in the Red Sea. Wednesday's strikes come in response to a second Houthi attack on a U.S. vessel this week. Pentagon spokesman Pat Ryder says the strikes have been hitting with good effects and said the U.S. will continue to work with regional partners to prevent and deter future attacks.
And we're also going to continue to work very hard to prevent the Israel-Hamas conflict from escalating into a broader regional conflict.
The Iran-backed Houthi and Hezbollah groups have stepped up aggressions in concert with Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack on Israel.
The Houthis need to ask themselves how much of their capability do they want degraded and disrupted in light of these illegal, reckless, and dangerous attacks.
But the Houthis continue to ignore U.S. warnings. A one-way bomb-carrying drone hit a U.S.-owned ship in the Gulf of Aden on Wednesday. The captain reported the ship and crew were safe after putting out a fire and sailing to the next port. A Houthi spokesman bragged of scoring a direct hit and vowed to keep attacking ships. Iran's foreign minister on Wednesday said the attacks by its allies won't stop until Israel's war on Hamas ends. The U.S. on Wednesday put Houthis back on the list of specially designated global terrorists. Sanctions attached are meant to sever financing being used to attack or hijack ships. U.S. officials say it will take 30 days to go into effect. That's to give shipping companies, banks, insurers, and others time to prepare. They stated financial penalties will be designed to minimize harm to Yemen's 32 million people. Civilians there are some of the world's poorest and hungriest after years of war between the Iran-backed Houthis and a Saudi-led coalition. U.S. officials said Wednesday new sanctions will exempt commercial shipments of food, medicine, fuel, and humanitarian aid. Critics worry the move will have little effect on the Houthis since they have very few assets in the U.S. to be threatened. The Biden administration, for now, is not reimposing the more severe designation of foreign terrorist organization on the Houthis. The FTO designation would bar Americans, along with people and organizations under U.S. jurisdiction, from providing material support to the Houthis. Aid groups claim that would criminalize ordinary trade and assistance to Yemen. NSC spokesman John Kirby warned the U.S. will not hesitate to take further actions to protect its citizens and the free flow of international commerce.
If the Houthis cease the attacks, we can certainly reconsider this designation.
Former President Trump's administration designated the Houthis as global terrorists and a foreign terrorist organization before Trump left office. President Biden reversed course, citing the humanitarian threat that sanctions pose to civilians. Secretary Blinken cited a dire humanitarian situation in Yemen at the time and stated the U.S. listened to warnings from the UN, humanitarian groups, and others in its decision. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
And earlier we spoke with Lee Smith about the renewed terrorist designation for Houthis. Smith is the host of Over the Target on Epic TV and the author of The Strong Horse, Power, Politics, and the Clash of Arab Civilizations. Lee, to begin with, explain why the Biden administration delisted the Houthis as terrorists when he came into office.
Well, because they didn't, the excuse was at the time, it was hurting getting international aid into Yemen. The real issue, of course, is that the Biden administration came in and they wanted to appease the Iranians, and the Iranians sponsor the Houthis. And so this is what the Biden administration did across the board. It started pouring money into Gaza and the West Bank as well. Also controlled by, well, certainly Gaza was controlled by Hamas, which is an asset of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So it was a sweeping gesture by the Biden administration, again, to appease the Iranians. Donald Trump had gone hard on the regime in Tehran, and Biden wanted to go soft. So the ultimate goal being to legalize their nuclear weapons program.
The goal for the Biden administration, or for the
Biden administration? This is what the Biden, like the Barack Obama administration, and many of the people in the Biden administration previously worked for Obama on the Iranian file, on the Iranian nuclear file in particular, and it was a key foreign policy initiative of the Biden administration to restore that deal, which amounts to legalizing the Islamic Republic's nuclear weapons program. That's what they wanted to do.
Yet the Biden administration would have said that they were still trying to contain Iran's nuclear weapons program with that deal.
Yeah, that's all nonsense. And all viewers need to do is, if they have the time, you can just Google Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and sunset clauses. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was the name of the official name of the Iran nuclear deal. The sunset clauses refers to a number of different restrictions on Iran, on its weapons, on ballistic missiles, as well as nuclear, the actual nuclear program itself. And what sunset clauses means, obviously, sunset, it means that those restrictions were designed to expire over time, at the end of which the Iranians would have a fully legal nuclear weapons program.
And considering this elevated risk from Iran and from Iran's allies and terror groups that it funds throughout the Middle East, what's the relationship between the elevated level of risk on U.S. soil now for terrorist acts?
Well, I mean, of course, because our borders have been thrown wide open, and there's no way to vet any of the people who have come through. Astonishingly, they've found over 100, I believe it is now, terror suspects, and I hope they've kept them out of the country. But there's going to be many, many more, because every country across the world, every adversary of the United States, whether these are states like the People's Republic of China or the Russian Federation or the Islamic Republic, are going to send operatives here. I mean, this is right. Obvious. But the threat to Americans isn't just at home. The threat to Americans is also, look, the Houthis, what they've done is they've shut down the Red Sea. And this is going to cost Americans a lot, and it's going to cost Europeans a lot as well. Now, imagine what happens when Iran gets a nuclear weapons program, what that means for the Red Sea and what that means for global shipping lanes. It's a disaster.
Lee Smith, thank you so much for your time. Coming up, potentially billions of dollars saved for consumers a year if a new government rule is implemented. Find out more.
And federal investigators are accused of asking banks to search private transactions for their January 6th probe. We have more on the accusations when we return.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always cheesing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
We've been spending a lot more time than ever at home these days, so maybe now you've just noticed cold air coming in from a couple windows, or that your patio door isn't closing fully, which means you're losing heat in the winter, losing cooling in the summer, losing money all year long. And that means now is the time for new windows and patio doors from Renewal by Andersen. Most installations are usually done in just one day. Renewal by Andersen windows and doors can help lower your heating bills and air conditioning bills with their most energy efficient glass available. Only their windows are made with Fibrex material, proven to be 2 times stronger than vinyl. And they're backed by a 20-year warranty. And right now, when you buy one window or patio door, get one at 40% off. Plus, there's no money down, no payments for 12 months, and no interest for 12 months. Plus, an additional $200 off your entire purchase.
1-800-218-1510.
I'm Tiffany Meyer in New York City, and we are NTD News.
And joining us now is NTD Business host Don Ma to discuss billions in potential savings for consumers this year.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is proposing a new rule that would curb excessive overdraft fees charged to customers by large banks and credit unions. It could potentially save consumers as much as $3.5 billion a year. Don, tell us about this rule.
All right, first of all, let me mention the rule would only apply to banks that have over $10 billion in assets and would require big banks and credit unions to be as forthcoming about their terms when it comes to overdraft fees as they are about other products that they offer. And, just by the way, quick mention here, banks and credit unions with $10 billion in assets account for the largest share of deposit account customers in the United States. So what this rule aims to do is it wants to close a long-standing loophole, and that loophole allowed many large banks to transform overdraft fees into a massive junk fee collecting tool, and overdraft is essentially a loan to the customer, the agency argues. And it says that very large financial institutions would still be able to offer profitable overdraft loans as long as they comply with long-standing consumer protections and loans. So, for example, this would require them to disclose interest and fees they offer on a credit card or other loan, or the banks could simply charge a flat fee, which the agency is considering around $3 to $14. So this proposed rule is open for public comment until April 1st, and then after that, the Consumer Protection Bureau will consider those comments and decide if the proposal needs to be amended and whether to issue a final rule. And this rule likely won't go into effect until 2025.
But taking a step back here, how have customers been impacted by overdraft fees?
Yeah. So according to the agency, that bank customers are often, first of all, surprised by overdraft fees. I think I was once a few weeks ago, and the fees and those who are least affordable, who can least afford them, are charged the most frequently, apparently, according to the watchdog agency. And the Bureau found that customers are typically charged around $35 on an overdraft, even though the majority of customers who need a bit of overdraft on their account use less than $26. So the agency estimates that roughly around 23 million households a year pay overdraft fees, and that the proposed rule could save households somewhere around $150 a year. But despite the potential benefits, there are voices out there that are opposed to this rule. The president of the American Bankers Association and its CEO warned that consumers may pay the price, actually, if this rule goes into effect. And they're saying that the proposal will make it significantly harder for banks to offer overdraft protection to customers, including those who have few, if any, other means of accessing needed liquidity, and arguing that this is effectively proposing to take away overdraft protection from consumers who need it. So a lot of different opinions on this, seems like.
All right, thank you so much, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, did the federal government get private data from banks? Congressman Jim Jordan accuses January 6th investigators of asking banks to search for certain transactions.
He accuses them of urging banks to look for terms like MAGA and Trump. Here's more on Jordan's accusations.
The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, is the U.S. Treasury Department's financial crime fighting unit. In a letter to former FinCEN Director Noah Bischoff, House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan accuses the organization of pervasive financial surveillance. Jordan also heads the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. In his letter, he says the two committees have documents indicating FinCEN sent out materials to banks on behalf of law enforcement. Jordan said the materials outlined so-called typologies of persons of interest. He said FinCEN told banks to look out for the terms MAGA and Trump, and also the purchase of religious texts with extremist views, including the Bible. Jordan alleges that FinCEN also warned banks to look out for transactions associated with small arms and recreational goods and supplies. Jordan wrote that these transactions having no apparent criminal nexus and in fact relate to Americans exercising their Second Amendment rights. He accused FinCEN of characterizing these people as potential threats. In his letter, Jordan raised questions about FinCEN's respect for fundamental civil liberties. The FBI has declined to comment on the accusations, while neither FinCEN nor the Treasury Department returned a request to respond to Mr. Jordan's allegations. Prosecutors have charged over 1,200 people with various crimes related to January 6th. 3 years later, dozens of detainees are still in jail awaiting trial.
And for those of us still sending snail mail, if you're looking to save some money on stamps, now is a good time to stock up on Forever stamps. The price of postage is scheduled to go up this Sunday. The current price of Forever stamps is 60 cents. Starting Sunday, they will cost 68 cents.
Forever stamps are good forever, no matter when you buy them. When they came out in 2007, they only cost 41 cents. This will be the fifth price increase since 2021. The price of Priority Mail and Ground Advantage are also going up more than 5%. Be careful next time you're in Las Vegas. A new law bans stopping or standing on pedestrian bridges on the Las Vegas Strip. Violators could face as much as 6 months in jail or a $1,000 fine. Clark County lawmakers voted unanimously to approve the measure.
The new ban includes connected stairways, elevators, and escalators. It doesn't include standing or stopping if a person is waiting to use an elevator, stairway, or escalator. And a horse running loose on a Tennessee road found its way home with the help of a deputy. Check out this video of the amusing highway chase. People were reporting wet roads and stranded drivers. Initially, the deputy was ready to answer other calls, but he jumped into action to help the horse.
He carefully drove near the animal to keep it away from traffic until a trailer arrived to safely transport it back to its corral. And German authorities say Arnold Schwarzenegger was held for more than 2 hours at the Munich airport after failing to declare an item upon arrival. A customs press officer said the actor will face criminal tax proceedings. According to the officer, Schwarzenegger was released and continued on his trip. A source close to Schwarzenegger said he was detained for traveling with a Swiss luxury brand watch that he might be auctioning at his charity auction in Austria. According to the source, the star cooperated fully, answered all questions honestly, and was never asked to fill out a declaration form. He also agreed to prepay potential taxes on the watch.
And if you have any news tips or feedback for our show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen.
This is an advert about hunger, and this is what you'd expect to see. Children starving in places like this. For years, things were getting better. We were beating hunger, and few children died. But now, things are getting much worse again. Because this time, the droughts are more devastating.
Wars and conflicts are forcing us to flee our homes, leaving everything behind with no way to get food. That's why we need your help.
Millions of children are fighting to survive due to inequality, conflict, poverty, and the climate crisis. Save the Children is working alongside communities to provide a better life for children, and there's a way you can help. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month, only 33 cents a day. We urgently need 1,000 new monthly donors in the next 30 days to help the children we support around the world. You can help provide food, medicine, care, and protection, plus so much more that a child needs, by calling right now and giving just $10 a month.
Because you can give hungry families the support they need to survive and stop children dying from hunger.
All we need are 1,000 monthly donors in the next 30 days. Please call or go online now with your monthly gift of just $10. Thanks to generous government grants, every dollar you give can have up to 10 times the impact. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
Children around the world really need your help.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a child in crisis survives. Please call or go online to hungerstopsnow.org to help save lives today.
I love you!
I'm Kelly Wright in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Tensions from the Israel-Hamas war rippling throughout the Middle East. Find out what the Israeli president thinks could lead to peace.
A young woman murdered by illegal border crossers. Hear her mother and other witness testimonies from the second Mayorkas impeachment hearing.
Testimony from Hunter Biden's art dealer is raising questions about ethical safeguards around his work. It may contradict White House statements about an ethics agreement.
Presidential candidates were out in force in New Hampshire yesterday, making their case to voters with the primary coming up fast. See the highlights.
Artificial intelligence and technological innovation. Hear what analysts say the U.S. has to do in emerging technologies to outpace communist China.
And football fans have something new to get excited about. Hear all about a new museum exhibit that gives visitors a rare peek at some coveted memorabilia.
Shen Performing Arts wraps up 10 performances in Atlanta. Hear what audience members had to say about the show.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
The second impeachment hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is underway.
The House Homeland Security Committee invited witnesses to testify on how they suffered from lax border policies.
The committee chairman criticized Mayorkas for not showing up.
Lastly, I'd like to point out that I have invited Secretary Mayorkas on multiple occasions to testify on the border crisis, including this hearing today. I'm disappointed that he has chosen not to testify. Instead, he plays games and cat and mouse, telling the media he wants to cooperate with the committee on finding a time to testify, but then refuses to work with the committee staff or offer any dates or times to which he can testify.
On July 27th, 2022, I received the worst news that a parent doesn't want to hear, that my newly 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room and left on the floor like trash. The illegal MS-13 known gang member brutally raped and murdered my daughter by strangling her with a cord and robbed her of $6. If we had stricter border policies, my daughter would still be alive today. Nothing will bring my daughter back nor fix the pain of not having her here. But I want to prevent this from happening to someone else's child. This isn't about immigration. This is about protecting everyone in the United States.
This is the final impeachment hearing. Mayorkas said he couldn't attend because of a conflicting meeting with Mexican officials on border issues.
He asked for a later date and offered to submit a written statement.
Republicans say Mayorkas has refused to enforce the country's immigration laws and enacted policies that make Americans less safe. Democrats have called the impeachment hearing partisan politics.
The House Homeland Security Committee plans to vote on an impeachment resolution on January 31st.
Denouncing President Biden's so-called open border policies. The House of Representatives passed a resolution yesterday criticizing the administration's handling of immigration crisis.
Over a dozen Democrats joined Republicans in voting for it.
The legislation describes the current situation as the worst border security crisis in the nation's history.
One key concern is the number of encounters at the southern border. The resolution states that Border Patrol encounters over 100,000 illegal immigrants during every month of the Biden administration.
The legislation also says that there has been a steep increase in people on the terrorist watch list trying to enter the country. That number rose by 2,700%.
In total, 14 Democrats voted yes on the resolution alongside all Republicans. Some of those Democrats come from districts close to the border, such as Henry Cuellar, who's been openly talking about the immigration crisis for months now.
Of the 14 Democrats voting yes, 10 don't actually represent districts in border states. And we're waiting to see what happens today in the Texas border contest with the Biden administration. The DHS gave Texas a deadline of midnight last night to provide Border Patrol full access to a public park in Eagle Pass and 2.5 miles of the Rio Grande. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton doubled down on blocking Border Patrol yesterday. The AG's office stated Texas will not surrender. Paxton says Texas has constitutional authority to defend its territory.
Texas authorities started arresting adult illegal immigrants at the public park in Eagle Pass late last night. A Texas official said these are the first arrests at the park since the state took control of the area a week ago. The illegal immigrants are being charged with criminal trespassing.
And while the conflict ripples throughout the Middle East, Israel is stepping up its operations in the city of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. In other war updates, Jordan's military accused Israel of damaging its field hospital in the city with shelling nearby. The Israeli government said extra field hospitals are expected to be up and running in the coming days.
The Israeli military fired an Interceptor missile over the Red Sea earlier today. The military initially said they detected a suspicious aerial target, but they later clarified, saying it was a false identification.
Meanwhile, Pakistan launched retaliatory strikes against military targets in Iran overnight. At least 9 people were killed. The U.S. also carried out new strikes against missile launchers owned by the Houthis in Yemen.
The Israeli president spoke on the war during the World Economic Forum meeting in Switzerland. He said normalizing relations with Saudi Arabia would be a game changer for the entire Middle East.
It's an access for a better horizon for all parties concerned. And clearly the Saudi option as part of it, as the whole normalization process, is a key to the ability to exit from the war into a new horizon. It's still delicate, it's fragile, it will take a long time, but I think that it is actually an opportunity to move forward in the region toward a better future.
Meanwhile, an unknown proportion of the more than 200 hostages taken on October 7th remain in Hamas captivity. Here to discuss the latest is Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. Jonathan, what's the latest on the remaining hostages held by Hamas?
Well, there was a deal reached between Israel and Qatar and obviously with the United States involved to get medicine and other foreign countries to get medicine to the hostages. Hamas is extorting Israel here, and they are holding the hostages. They're trying to prolong this hostage crisis so as to save themselves. That's the only reason why they're continuing to hold on to these people. They have not allowed the Red Cross access to them. And it's the whole purpose of this exercise is to create pressure on the Israeli government from the families of the hostages, who understandably are willing to do anything to get their family members back. Yeah. But Israel's government also has to balance that against the necessity to continue the campaign to eliminate Hamas, because without that, hundreds of thousands of Israelis who were made refugees in their own country by the attacks on their country, both in the south and the north, will not go home.
Now, Hamas continues to display its barbarity, forcing a hostage to reveal the deaths of other hostages in a guessing game on video. What effect does taunting like this have on the Israeli people?
Well, obviously, it's angering them, and it's the whole point is psychological pressure on Israel's government to crack, to make more concessions, to essentially end the campaign to eliminate Hamas, which will allow them to emerge the victors of this war. And it's a very difficult equation. In any democracy, a government has to respond to its people. It has an obligation to get these hostages back if they can, but it can't do so at a price that will endanger the rest of the country. And that's the difficult position that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government have been put in. They've been trying to finesse it. And unfortunately, I think the United States has been playing a negative role in this, putting pressure on Israel because Biden wants to end the campaign against Hamas, not because he wants to save Hamas, but because he wants to save himself, because he's worried about the impact on his prospects in the 2024 election with his own Democratic base if the war continues.
So what do you make of the latest deal of, one item of medicine going to the hostages for 1,000 going to Gaza and the negotiations there?
Well, it's a terrible deal, as all deals with kidnappers, with terrorists wind up. being. And it's causing a lot of criticism of Netanyahu from within his own coalition and within the country. I can't blame Netanyahu for doing just about whatever he can to help keep the hostages alive, help keep hope alive for them. But in the end, he cannot, and he's not going to give Hamas enough, that they will free them, because he's not going to end the war. That would basically, make him, it would destroy his government. And it would not just destroy his government, it would destroy his government's, security obligations to the country. So there's no good outcome to this. And rather than supporting Israel and supporting the effort to really get rid of Hamas, I think the United States, as I said, has been playing a negative role here by putting pressure on Netanyahu to make concessions to the terrorists, which is the opposite of what Americans would want their own country to do.
Yeah, briefly, the families of American hostages are meeting with Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, today, and they're pleading for the U.S. to do all that they can to free those hostages. What do you think that effort could look like?
Well, this is an equation in which, there's no clean outcome for any of the governments involved here. Hamas, they're kidnappers, they're terrorists. They're trying to bargain the lives of these poor people who are likely being tortured or raped. There's a lot of evidence of the abuse of the remaining hostages who were already brutalized in the worst mass slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust on October 7th. And I think, we always have this equation. Anytime there's any hostage situation, it dates back. Think about what Ronald Reagan went through in the 1980s, a similar kind of pressure plan, where the government will do anything to get rid of to get these hostages home. But Israel is in a different position because it cannot let Hamas survive this war. And in the end, I don't think these hostages are going home as long as Hamas is still standing. That's the problem.
Much. All right, Jonathan Tobin, great to speak with you, Editor-in-Chief of the Jewish News Syndicate.
Thank you.
Next up, Philadelphia police are investigating a second act of vandalism at a Holocaust memorial park. The incident comes just days after the Horowitz-Wasserman Holocaust Memorial Plaza was defaced with an image of a large swastika. Officers were called to the area Tuesday afternoon following reports of a man dumping trash on the memorial.
Officials from the Philadelphia Holocaust Remembrance Foundation say the person intentionally dumped several cans of trash by the monument at the Horowitz-Wasserman Holocaust Memorial. The DOJ condemning police response to the 2022 school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, calling it a failure in a new report today.
21 people, including 19 students, were killed in the gunfire at Robb Elementary School. Nearly 400 law enforcement officers responded to the shooting.
According to media outlets, the DOJ report says poor coordination, training, and execution of active shooter protocols contributed to the tragic outcome. It says that a lack of leadership led to a delay in confronting the shooter and providing medical assistance.
The report also says after the shooting, authorities gave some parents incorrect information about the status of their children.
In addition to the DOJ review of the official response, a criminal investigation into the shooting is still ongoing.
Coming up, the state of Iowa is suing TikTok. Find out what allegations officials are bringing and what they hope to achieve.
And Florida is taking yet another step in its fight against diversity, equity, and inclusion. We bring you the latest policy change regarding DEI in public colleges. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
If you're watching this, I didn't make it. Thanks to people like you and the American Heart Association, my family never had to see this video. I was a healthy 47-year-old, no symptoms. But then my doctor discovered I had a bad heart valve that was beyond repair. The scariest day of my life was when I was sitting on a gurney as I looked and my wife was at my side and my kids had me surrounded. Deep down, you know, this could be it. This could be all there is.
Not having him around for Riley to grow up with and have that papa figure in his life, that would have been hard.
This little heart valve did something really big. It saved my life. I wouldn't be here today without it. The research for this heart valve was funded by the American Heart Association. And that's why I'm asking you to become a monthly donor for just $19 a month. When you do, you'll help fund the next medical breakthrough that could save your life or the life of someone you love. You'll also provide life-saving CPR training and help certify hospitals to give the best care to those who have had a heart attack or stroke. When you give $19 a month, we'll send you a t-shirt just like this one. From the moment you put it on, you'll help raise awareness for heart disease and stroke. Since my surgery, I had a son get married. I had a daughter graduate high school. I had another daughter give birth to a precious boy. I would have missed all that. And that's why it's personal for me.
We're very thankful for everyone who is a donor because it gives us more time.
Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack. The next person you help save could be someone you love or even you. Become a monthly donor today by calling or going to helpheart.org because it's personal.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave, and don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call
800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now.
800-494-1562.
Winter weather turned tragic yesterday, killing 3 and injuring a baby. This after a power line fell on a parked car in Portland, Oregon. 2 adults and 1 teenager were found dead upon firefighters' arrival. The baby was taken to a hospital. Authorities believe the victims were electrocuted after they got out of the vehicle.
In Buffalo, homes and streets were covered in lake-effect snow. That's when cold air is warmed by the lake and absorbs water vapor, which then falls as snow on the shore. Residents here tried to clear the deep snow from streets and houses.
In Utah, traffic was at a standstill in Big Cottonwood Canyon after an avalanche covered a section of the road. The flashing lights of emergency vehicles can be seen in the distance as a snowplow tries to clear the way.
Presidential hopefuls took to the campaign trail yesterday with the New Hampshire primary just around the corner. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the highlights.
Former President Trump took aim at candidate Nikki Haley during a rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on Wednesday.
The people behind Nikki Haley are pro-amnesty, they're pro-China, they're pro-open borders. You know, she wants open borders, don't kid yourself. Pro-war, and they're pro-Biden.
The former president vowed to return the country to better days.
One of the most important issues in this race is which candidate can rescue the American economy and save the American dream.
Trump says the GOP needs to rally behind one candidate.
And it's time for the Republican Party, frankly, to come together and to unify. We have to unify and focus all of our resources and energy and effort.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held a town hall-style event in the seaside resort of Hampton, New Hampshire, Wednesday. DeSantis listed the accomplishments he feels he has achieved as governor.
We beat the teachers' unions on universal school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat Soros on crime. We beat Disney on protecting the innocence of our children.
Lindy Lanphier was at the event. She's still gauging the candidates to see who's got what it takes to win.
I do like Ron DeSantis, but I think
Trump's got all the power right now.
Donna Sprague says the country is at a critical crossroads with illegal immigration.
Nobody's dealing with the root cause at all. It's just out of control.
Presidential candidate Nikki Haley campaigned Wednesday in Rochester, New Hampshire. She spoke about the plight of veterans.
We lose 22 heroes a day to suicide.
Haley says her parents taught her a lesson. Take care of those who take care of you. She called for better health care for veterans and getting homeless vets off the street. President Biden's name will not be on New Hampshire's primary ballot, but supporters are determined to write his name in.
Well, I think he's done a reasonably good job, despite what we sometimes hear in the news. The economy's on the rebound.
I voted for Joe Biden right in because he is exceeding all expectations. He is just doing a phenomenal job, and I support him completely.
The New Hampshire primary is on January 23rd. There are no more debates before the voting. Both CNN and ABC have canceled their New Hampshire debates. Nikki Haley made Trump's participation a condition for her attendance. Current Real Clear polling averages show former President Trump with a 13-point cushion. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley is set to participate in a CNN town hall today. The former South Carolina governor and former ambassador to the UN is hopeful this will give her an advantage over former President Trump in the 2024 race. This is just days before the New Hampshire primary. New Hampshire's primary electorate has the most Democrats and independents than any early voting states in the GOP calendar. The state's governor, Chris Sununu, is a Haley supporter. He said on Fox News last week that he predicts Haley will finish a strong second in Tuesday's primary.
The sixth GOP debate was canceled. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley said she wouldn't show up if former President Trump wouldn't. This prompted ABC News to cancel the showdown. Joining us now to discuss this and the upcoming New Hampshire primary more broadly is John Schweppe, Director of Policy at the American Principles Project. John Schweppe, thank you so much for joining us. The sixth GOP debate was canceled after Nikki Haley dropped out just ahead of the New Hampshire primaries here. How will that move affect her in these primaries?
Well, I think what she's trying to do, obviously Trump won Iowa by a pretty big margin, and then it was very close. DeSantis finished second, Haley third, very close to each other. And so what she's trying to do is muscle DeSantis out of the race. She thinks that by faring better in New Hampshire, which she probably will, that she'll be the second, candidate remaining. It'll be Trump and her. And so that's the goal here. I think trying to spike the debate is to basically delegitimize her opponent in DeSantis and try to make herself the only counter-Trump option out there. And of course, all this is probably for naught because, again, Trump looks very strong. He just won Iowa. He's set to win New Hampshire and probably South Carolina as well. So this all seems a little bit fickle, frankly.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a bit. But I do want to touch into some of these other things because, it's still a race. We're still talking about these other candidates. It's not a complete moot point. If it's going to be. So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is polling in the single digits in New Hampshire right now. How important is the outcome of this race for him?
Well, I think he definitely, he is staying in. So I think he definitely needs to surprise in the upwards direction. If he could come in second in New Hampshire or if he could show, 15, 16, 17% support, obviously maybe that could be a change for the race. But, I think unfortunately, and we're big fans of Ron DeSantis at American Principles Project, but, I think winning Iowa was pretty critical to his campaign's ability to succeed. And ultimately with Trump continuing to fare well, there's just not really a lane for DeSantis to be competitive.
And John, everyone talks about how important the Iowa caucuses are, but how important are the New Hampshire primaries?
Well, I think they're both important. I'm from the Quad Cities, which is part of Iowa, part Illinois. So I love the caucus. But, I think ultimately these first two, the caucus and the primary, help give people a look at these candidates. A lot of people don't tune in to this primary campaign until the Iowa caucus, until the New Hampshire primary. And so they're seeing who these candidates are, how they hold up under pressure and under scrutiny. And I think ultimately, this is going to strengthen whoever the ultimate nominee is, which it looks like it's going to be Donald Trump. So I think, this is a tradition we have in this country, but certainly, at least within the Republican Party, I think it's one that voters enjoy and appreciate, and it helps us find the right candidate.
Okay. And how did the result of the Iowa caucus change the Republican playing field going into New Hampshire? We talked about this a little bit, but maybe you can expand.
Well, it's important to note that Trump lost the Iowa caucus in 2016, right? And so for him to come out and win by 30 points, I think shows the support he has as essentially an incumbent within the Republican Party. And so going into New Hampshire, even the media coverage, it's all about who's going to finish second place and how well they do. But there's no plan for anyone to ever win first and take it away from him. Ultimately, it just seems like the guy's larger than life, and that Republican voters are gravitating towards him. They want him to be the nominee. So, that's the trick here. If somebody can break through and win a primary, if Haley could do it or DeSantis could do it, maybe that would change the ballgame a little bit. But until then, if Trump is just sweeping these states, and that'll probably happen in South Carolina, probably Nevada, and then we're heading into Super Tuesday, it's hard to make the case that a second place finish means anything, frankly.
All right, John Schweppe, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
President Biden is heading to North Carolina today to talk Bidenomics. There he will announce $82 million in new investments. It's to connect thousands of homes and business to high-speed internet. In the meantime, Biden's campaign believes the president can flip the battleground state blue in his run for a second term. The last Democratic presidential candidate to win North Carolina was Barack Obama back in 2008. This trip marks Biden's first 2024 stop in a battleground state that's not Pennsylvania.
And testimony from Hunter Biden's art dealer may contradict White House statements about an ethics agreement. George Burgess says his 2020 contract allowed him to tell the president's son who bought his works. But he says he never did so, and the next year his contract no longer allowed it. The White House says safeguards like buyer anonymity went into place in the summer of 2021, but the contract wasn't official until September, and that has some questioning the timeline. Burgess says Hunter Biden knew of two buyers, his lawyer and a woman recommended by then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The dealer denies anyone got political favors in return for their purchases. He adds the White House wasn't involved in crafting the ethics contracts. And over to social media related news. Are your kids or grandkids using TikTok? The state of Iowa accuses the platform of misleading parents about their children's access to inappropriate content. The state's attorney general is now suing TikTok and its China-owned parent company, ByteDance. Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird accuses TikTok of lying about the prevalence of content, including drugs, nudity, alcohol, and profanity. Bird says TikTok has kept parents in the dark, adding it's time to show what kids are exposed to on the platform. The AG is alleging consumer fraud in Wednesday's lawsuit. She's seeking financial penalties and an order barring TikTok from engaging in deceptive and unfair conduct. This is the latest of various lawsuits by a U.S. state against TikTok. Montana is still trying to implement a first-of-its-kind state ban on the use of the app. And in related news, an appeals court yesterday looked at the case of a 10-year-old girl who died after attempting a TikTok challenge.
The Pennsylvania girl died in 2021 after attempting the blackout challenge, which encouraged people to choke themselves. A lower court previously ruled that a law known as Section 230 protects TikTok in this case. The law says internet companies are not responsible for content posted by users.
The family is now appealing the decision. Their lawyer says that TikTok did not just host the deadly content, but recommended it to users using algorithms.
Should foreign investors own controlling rights to public land in the U.S.? The New York Stock Exchange is now abandoning such a plan, which some have suggested is highly controversial. On Wednesday, the New York Stock Exchange withdrew its proposal to establish so-called natural asset companies. The companies were designed to pool investors' money from around the world to buy controlling rights to land throughout the U.S. According to filing documents by the stock exchange, the lands would then be managed for the sole purpose of sustainability. Many land rights activists applauded the end of the plan. They say foreign entities would have been able to block the public from accessing publicly owned land. The land is designated for use such as hunting, fishing, drilling, mining, and logging.
And in Florida, state colleges can no longer use public funds for DEI programs. It's the latest development in the administration's battle against these programs that are designed with diversity, equity, and inclusion measures. Florida's Board of Education announced the new rule yesterday. It prohibits public colleges from using state and federal funds for DEI programs, activities, and policies. The state's education commissioner says higher education must reject destructive ideologies, adding that these actions ensure that taxpayers' money will not support DEI and, quote, radical indoctrination. Critics of the new rule say Florida is going down a misguided path of censorship. For those of us still sending snail mail, if you're looking to save some money on stamps, now is a good time to stock up on Forever stamps. The price of postage is scheduled to go up this Sunday. The current price of Forever stamps is 60 cents. Starting Sunday, they will cost 68 cents.
Forever stamps are good forever, no matter when you buy them. When they came out in 2007, they only cost 41 cents. This will be the 5th price increase since 2021. The price of Priority Mail and Ground Advantage are also going up more than 5%.
Coming up, a rapid death for lab mice. Chinese scientists are experimenting with a mutant strain of coronavirus. Find out how deadly it is.
And Washington lends a hand to Japan. The island signed a major defense deal with the U.S. How will this influence the power dynamic in East Asia? We'll have the details soon when we return.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of alien tape free. You wouldn't stick your mother-in-law on the wall, but you could with alien tape. It just sticks. Just peel and stick to make anything stay in place quick. Brick, pavers, marble, tile, plastic, even leather. Nothing works better than alien tape. You wouldn't stick your fishbowl on a moving car, but you could with alien tape. The secret is nano-stick technology that grabs and locks on to secure one side of the surface to the other. Alien tape secures in seconds, then twist, pull, and rinse to reuse. Call or go online to get your first roll of alien tape for just $19.99, plus shipping and processing. But to make this deal really stick, we'll give you 2 more rolls absolutely free. You get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-490-1364 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-490-1364 or order online at tryalientape.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
I'm Melina Wisecup on Capitol Hill, and we are NTD.
Welcome back. Expert witnesses are telling Congress the U.S. must outpace China in technology and innovation.
This happened at a hearing by the Senate Banking Committee earlier this morning.
China has built its economy on stealing American and allied intellectual property. Millions and billions of dollars in total of American research and development dollars walk out the back door to China every year. That research and development money is critically important to our ability to ultimately succeed in the larger economic, political, and military conflict with China. We won't win on steel. We won't win on population. We will only win if we out-innovate China and outwork China.
The hearings called National Security Challenges Outpacing China in Emerging Technology. Jamil Jaffer is the founder and executive director of George Mason University's National Security Institute.
He said the Chinese regime has made aggressive moves to build its own technological innovation base and now seeks to expand its capabilities, especially in AI.
He said private actors play a critical role in emerging technology innovation here in the U.S., and the analyst urged government and industry to work collaboratively to protect our national security.
Emily Kilcrease from Center for a New American Security also made several suggestions. They focus on strengthening economic security strategy in areas such as export controls and outbound investment controls.
Chinese scientists are testing a new coronavirus strain related to the one that causes COVID-19. How deadly is it?
So far, all the mice that have been infected died in just 8 days, though it remains unclear how this experimental strain would affect humans.
The virus attacked their brains, which were engineered to mimic human genetic makeup. The strain GXP2V infected the lungs, bones, eyes, tracheas, and brains of the mice. They quickly lost weight and were eventually killed by the brain infection. Their eyes turned completely white before they died. Authors of the study work for a university in Beijing. They underscored the risk researching this virus poses toward infecting humans. Researchers say GXP2V virus similar to a strain of virus that causes COVID-19. A former professor of medicine at Stanford posted the research on X, writing, "This madness must be stopped before it's too late." The CCP virus, which causes COVID-19, hit China in 2020. It later spread around the world, taking over 1 million lives on U.S. soil. Now, the world is still in the dark about where the virus came from. Debates remain over whether it came from an animal or a lab leak.
New information is out on Beijing's pandemic cover-up. When Chinese officials said the virus outbreak in Wuhan was an unknown pneumonia, information about the virus was already available in China. This is according to a report from the Wall Street Journal.
A Chinese researcher uploaded an almost complete sequence of the virus's structure to a U.S.-run database in December of 2019. Virus sequencing is key to deciphering a strain. Beijing only shared that information with the World Health Organization 2 weeks later. This 2-week window could have helped the world better respond to the pandemic.
And Japan is getting a major defense boost from Washington. It signed a deal with the U.S. Thursday to buy 400 Tomahawk missiles. These missiles are capable of hitting targets in China and North Korea. Japan said before it's critical to have long-range missiles in case China invades Taiwan.
We're going to, as early as March, start the training for the Japanese servicemen and women on the Tomahawk.
Japan's defense minister said the two allies agreed to expedite the deployment in response to the increasingly severe security environment.
The defense deal is in line with Japan's goal to bolster its military. Just a month ago, it approved a record military budget for 2024. The total stands at over $50 billion, a 16% jump.
Japan has been breaking away from its pacifism amid rising threats from China. The country promised never to maintain military forces except for self-defense after World War II. But now it's aiming to send another $300 billion by 2027 to bolster its military. That would make Japan the third largest military spender after the U.S. and China.
A joint response to rising nuclear threats on the Korean peninsula. Top nuclear envoys from the U.S., South Korea, and Japan met in Seoul today. Tensions mount in the region. North Korea just tested a hypersonic missile with intermediate range last Sunday. It also launched a series of intercontinental ballistic missiles last year, at least one of them capable of hitting the United States.
We are prepared to meet the DPRK without any preconditions to discuss any and all issues of mutual concern. Unfortunately, the DPRK continues to reject offers of dialogue.
The DPRK stands for North Korea's official name. Its leader, Kim Jong-un, threatened to annihilate the U.S. and South Korea if provoked.
The U.S. has sent more military assets to the region, including a nuclear missile submarine, aircraft carriers, and large bombers.
The U.S. has also been concerned that North Korea could provide weapons to Russia to help its offensive in Ukraine.
South Korean lawmakers say Russia helped Pyongyang launch a spy satellite last November.
And in more China news, is the U.S. helping China's military get stronger?
Hypersonic missiles, surveillance tools, and telecommunications tech, all of China's warfighting capabilities, are made possible by American dollars. What actions can Washington take? That and more tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only on NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. About 20 people were killed in an explosion at a fireworks factory in central Thailand. The blast occurred yesterday at around 4 p.m. local time.
Firefighters managed to extinguish the fire, and now rescue teams are working to recover human remains from the destroyed factory.
The cause of the explosion is still unknown. The country's prime minister has ordered a thorough investigation to determine if negligence was the factor.
Another firework explosion in Thailand last year also caused multiple casualties and property damage. Coming up, a founding member of the Commodores is saying Shen deserves a Grammy. Find out why this Grammy winner himself has such high praise for the Chinese classical dance group.
And with the Super Bowl just weeks away, hear all about a new museum exhibit taking fans closer to the big game. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Car breakdown is no joke.
With parts, labor, and towing, you could be looking at thousands of dollars in bills, darlings. That ain't funny.
If your vehicle's out of warranty, it's not a matter of if, it's when your car will break down.
Unless you call CarShield, America's most trusted auto protection company.
Plans cover up to 5,000 parts and systems and provide protection anywhere in the country with a mechanic or dealership you choose, all for just one low monthly payment.
And with the CarShield guarantee, your rate never goes up and your coverage never goes down, no matter how many claims you have.
That's money in your wallet.
Don't pay full price for an expensive repair bill when you could be covered.
For CarShield administrators to save us over $1,000, that's money that I could take and plan my next vacation.
CarShield helped me save over $3,600.
Plans through CarShield can protect most major parts and systems in your car, including the engine, transmission, entertainment system, computers, electronics, and more. For dollars a day, your plan could save you thousands the next time your car needs a repair.
The stressful situation that we thought we were going to have was not there. CarShield administrators took care of everything for us.
If our car breaks down, CarShield administrators have our back.
CarShield's coast-to-coast protection also includes 24/7 emergency roadside services. That means help with lockouts, flat or damaged tires, even towing. When you've got a plan through CarShield, you're only one call away from their best coverage yet.
Having a plan through CarShield means dealing with a live administrator who gets you the help you need with your car.
Including getting that repair bill paid.
Save money and save the hassle.
Call CarShield now, before a breakdown.
Call CarShield and get the CarShield guarantee, where your rate never goes up and your coverage never goes down, no matter how many claims you have. But you've got to call CarShield now before your car breaks down. Call 800-587-5179. 800-587-5179.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Shenyun Performing Arts season is here.
The classical Chinese dance company has already toured over 30 cities since the start of its 2024 season in December.
It has around 8 companies touring the world simultaneously.
During its 10 performances in Atlanta, Georgia over the weekend, a Grammy Award-winning member of the Commodores saw the show and called it mesmerizing. Take a look.
First of all, it was absolutely great, right? I would say it deserves a Grammy.
Shenyun performed for Atlanta audiences, upholding its mission to restore 5,000 years of Chinese civilization and culture, combining classical Chinese dance, music, costume, and visuals to bring stories to life.
It was really written well. You know, it all meshed together, and there were always moments of ups and downs, and, you know, the way it made you feel going through the whole thing was the way that I think that it should have been. I was really mesmerized by it. I loved it. I would love to have met the conductor and also the writer.
According to Shenyun's website, in classical Chinese dance, the inner feelings drive the body to achieve the full expression of the movements.
Whoever wrote the music, whoever did the dancing, the choreography, it was seamless. It was very special the way they did it. And of course the dancers are just incredible.
I feel inspired, I feel lifted and fed. My whole spirit, my whole body has really is in a state of happiness.
You think of perfection as mechanical, but the movement on the stage, everything was extremely graceful, and it communicated the heart of the religion and the spiritual beliefs of the theme of the show.
Along with classical Chinese dance, Shenyun features musical performances. The erhu is a 2-stringed musical instrument with an over 4,000-year history and can present a wide range of emotions through its sound.
It was absolutely incredible that you could have so much emotion and sound and vibrancy in a 2-stringed instrument.
It really, really communicated a deep-felt emotion that I think what the whole cast and everyone in their performance, everyone gave that. It was really a spiritual journey.
Shenyun will be touring Georgia until February 17th.
You got to see it. The elegance and the strength and all of the dances and the performances were, yes, I would recommend it highly.
The iconic NFL Super Bowl takes center stage at the Paley Museum's new exhibit in New York. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the attraction, which promises visitors an experience as memorable as attending the big game itself.
Titled Beyond the Big Game, the Super Bowl Showcase is presented in partnership with the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
We have opportunities for visitors that are really once in a lifetime. Fans can come in and get up close and take photos with the actual Vince Lombardi Super Bowl championship right here over my shoulder.
Fans of a quarterback many consider to be the best ever won't be disappointed.
We have Tom Brady's actual play card wristband that he wore in Super Bowl 36, the first of 6 Super Bowls he would go on to win with the New England Patriots.
Those more intrigued by the halftime show than the game itself also have plenty to look forward to.
We have the iconic costumes worn by Katy Perry during her halftime performance. And for the first time ever, we're presenting a showcase that is sure to be a fan favorite. We have a showcase of the most memorable television commercials of all time.
For those who want to see the victor's spoils, all 57 Super Bowl championship rings are on display. The exhibit at the Paley Museum is open through March 3rd. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
When we think of food that's good for the brain, cake probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But now a pastry chef in Australia and some health experts have come up with a recipe that is said to improve cognition. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the ingredients.
Cake is an opportunity to indulge, but this recipe resembles a salad more than sweets. Sydney chef Christopher Tay lists the ingredients.
Spinach, turmeric, pumpkin, beetroot.
Tay says the recipe was a work in progress.
The first version I did tasted like a curry.
According to nutrition experts, the cake's ingredients help our brains stay healthy. Beetroot can improve blood flow and protect our neural network. Olive oil decreases Alzheimer's disease biomarkers.
There is molecules in food, ingredients, which do have powerful and strong effects in keeping us healthy.
Honey is anti-inflammatory, and blueberries enhance oxygen flow to our vital organs. The idea of incorporating these foods has become more and more popular.
The awareness is growing over the past 10, 20, 30 years with the idea and concepts of functional foods, these types of things.
The cake was served at the 70th birthday of the New South Wales charity Meals on Wheels. Those who enjoyed it may have potentially improved their cognition without realizing it. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Be careful next time you're in Las Vegas. A new law bans stopping or standing on pedestrian bridges on the Las Vegas Strip. Violators could face as much as 6 months in prison or a $1,000 fine. Clark County lawmakers voted unanimously to approve the measure.
The new ban includes connected stairs, elevators, and escalators. It doesn't include standing or stopping if a person is waiting to use an elevator, stairway, or escalator. And a horse running loose on a Tennessee road found its way home with the help of a deputy. Check out this video of the amusing highway chase. People were reporting wet roads and stranded drivers. Initially, the deputy was ready to answer other calls, but he jumped into action to help the horse.
He carefully drove near the animal to keep it away from traffic until a trailer arrived to safely transport it back to its corral.
And that's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
We'll be back with more stories tomorrow.